All right, guys, today we're going to be taking a photo that has been upscaled and obviously is lacking in saturation, but it's also got a bunch of JPEG artifacts that's making her skin look really rough here. So we're going to go ahead and make some tweaks until we get it to look a little bit nicer, a little bit more like this, smooth out that skin and improve the overall look, removing some of these JPEG artifacts. So let's go ahead and start with the normal process. Command J to select our background. Command J will make us a new layer. That way we've got our original background as usual. So now with this original layer selected, I'm going to go up under my filter. I'm going to choose my neural filters. Now these neural filters give you all kinds of cool options that you can do. Skin smoothing, makeup, JPEG artifacts removal. So right off the bat, I'm going to turn on this JPEG artifacts removal because all these little crunchy bits of JPEG artifacting really don't help the image at all. So by turning that on, it's going to take a minute. It is a neural filter and it's doing its best to figure out what artifacts are there from the compression process. And we're going to see just how quickly it's able to smooth it up. And it did smooth it up quite a bit. So if we turned it off, we can see those still there. We turn it back on and it's improved it to some degree. Now I'm also going to go ahead and grab her skin smoothing, and you're going to see that it finds the face and it's going to try to remove any of these additional artifacts. If I turn that on, you'll see it's going to process down here for a second, and that is going to smooth out the face just a little bit in about 10 or 11 seconds. And we've got some blur and some smoothness. So we could continue to play with these depending on the picture and depending on the face. But here it's almost done. And we can see that has dramatically smoothed out the features on her face. So I could make it more smooth, but doing that will tend to eliminate almost any detail and leave the person looking very photoshopped. So right now, though, those current effects are really making a big difference. And I'm going to say, instead of outputting to the current layer, I'm going to click on this and do it to a new layer. So with this new layer brought in, I'm going to hit OK. And now I've still got my original, so I can compare, and now we can see this new smoothed one. So you can see how much it removed the artifacts and evened out some of those just harsh edges created. So in this case, that's looking better, but we need to go through and improve this image even more. As usual, let's go ahead and select our subject, select subject. And that's going to do its best to select her. And in this case, that's looking not too bad. It did an okay job, but I can still tell that it's grabbing a lot of excess here. Now it's trying to grab her hair. I'm going to hold my Option key down so I can remove some of that. And let's just see what this looks like. I'm going to remove any of these pieces over here that got selected, and maybe that last little piece right there. So now, with that done, maybe fix this little edge right around her neck, and we're good to go. So now I can go up here and add let's go add a curves adjustment layer. And the curves adjustment layer is going to let us adjust the brightness and darkness of the image. So everything over on the left side is dark, everything on the right side is white. So if I grab this bottom little arrow and we pull it up, you're going to notice that it's actually making the darker parts darker. So all these pixels are now being rounded down to 0. So I don't want to make the darker parts darker. I want to make them a little bit brighter. So if I grab this side and I pull it down, you'll see the brighter parts get brighter. So what I really need to do is push up this medium or in between these darker areas. So what you can do is click on this little curves layer, and I'm going to push this up a little bit, and you can see that is brightening her because she is in the white part of the mask. It's not affecting the background, but it is brightening her up quite a bit. Now if I feel like the bright parts have gotten a little too bright, I could come in here and just bring those brighter parts back down towards that center line, and still we have brightened up her image quite a bit. Now in the process of brightening it, we lost some of her natural saturation, so no problem. Let's go ahead and Option click on that curves mask again. That way she is selected properly. And now I'm going to go add another one, and let's do a vibrance, which is going to give us both vibrance and saturation. And again, because I had that selection made when I command clicked on this, then we can see that actually went ahead and made a new mask already on that vibrance layer. So if I grab this vibrance layer now, I could come and maybe increase her saturation just a little bit, push up the vibrance just a little bit, and let's just try to get back just a little bit of that natural skin tone, which is pretty good. However, the background is not looking terribly vibrant, so why don't we go ahead and do this same thing. I'm going to command click on that mask so that it makes the selection again for her, and this time I want a mask, I want a new vibrance layer, but that only affects everything except for her. So if I come down and I add another vibrance layer, that this one is still got the same mask, so it's only going to affect her saturation, but that's not what I want. I want to invert this mask so that she is being excluded and the background is being included. So if I select that and I hit Command I, you'll see that now it has flipped that saturation around, or it's flipped that mask around so that only the white areas, which is everything but her, are having their vibrance affected. So when I click on vibrance and I pump up that saturation, we get a much more vibrant looking image. Now, if I go through and I turn all this off, here is the original, and here's where it's getting to now. So we've got a lot more kind of bright colors popping in and around. Now, all of that is looking pretty good, but let's go ahead and try just one more thing. Let's see what happens and whether this can replace the sky. Photoshop can replace the sky in an image that's already this bad. So I'm going to go to the Edit menu and choose Sky Replacement. And it's going to do its best to figure out where or what sky should be there. I think that was one I used on a previous image. It's pretty beautiful, but let's go maybe try some of these others, like a blue sky, maybe some clouds. Looks slightly more realistic, like that one. And while the picture is obviously coming from something low quality and low res, with this little sky in the background, when I hit OK, it's going to make my sky replacement group. And now I can really see the difference from my original image to the current one. Now, while we're obviously suffering a little bit of lack of resolution here, just what we've been able to do with Photoshop has taken an image from not super pleasant to being a lot more vibrant, less artifacting, smoother skin, and especially if it's just a short photo in the background, it's going to look great. So if I take off that sky replacement layer, we can see it's blah. All right, so that uses our sky replacement, masking, inverting masks, and adjusting with both curves and vibrance.